Hello everyone, and welcome to the Darkest Dungeon. For those of you that are not familiar with this game, it came out a couple years ago now, in beta originally. I played it when it was in beta. It was very, very good. I then put it down until it finally released in full, I believe sometime either late last year or earlier this year, I can't remember which. Played it again, and then I have put it down again. And now the Crimson Court DLC has been released, and I have not yet played at all with the new DLC. Now, this is a very difficult game. I have beaten it twice or once, but maybe once I've beaten it. It is quite a hard game. If you're not familiar with it, it's sort of a gothic horror. Yeah, it's a gothic horror. A lot of Lovecraftian elements, but the big thing that makes Darkest Dungeon unique is its focus on how expendable your heroes are, which doesn't make it unique by itself, but the addition that Darkest Dungeon adds is they are expendable emotionally. Your characters in this game will die. You will have people die. It's just going to happen. Now, if you play perfectly, I'm sure you can make it through an entire game without anyone dying, but chances are someone's going to die. At least someone. But the big thing is that every time your characters go on a mission, they will receive stress. And as things happen to them, as terrible, horrible Lovecraftian things happen to them, they will get more and more stressed out and more paranoid or selfish or sometimes heroic. You don't know how they'll react under that stress. And you have to take care of them. You have to take care of their emotional needs as well as their physical ones. And their physical needs really take a backside in this game to the emotional problems that they will come up with, that they will end up with. It's really fascinating. Now, this game has obviously changed quite a bit since it came out in beta. They've added several elements. They've taken some of the elements away. Overall, it's probably become slightly easier, I'm going to say, than it was in beta, but it's still a very difficult game. It also has one of the best narrators in any game ever, and I'll let you experience that for yourself. Okay, let's... Oh, before we start, I do want to say one thing. This channel has, thus far, mostly comprised games that are suitable for anyone, with the possible exception of the Long Dark, which does have a few, more mature elements to it in the hunting and the being attacked by wolves and bears and stuff like that. Almost every game I've played on this channel has been very PG, right? Which is one of the reasons why I have been reluctant to go to the Long Dark, even though it is it is a game that was one of my favorites for a very long time. So I'm just going to state right up front that this game does have horror elements. There's no what I'd call like even R-rated stuff. It's mostly PG-13 probably to give you an equivalent. But there is going to be some amount of horror, some things that could be considered grotesque or repulsive, right? So if you are affected by those sorts of things, feel free to give it a try if you want. But if you need to bow out of the series for that reason, I would not blame you. It is worth saying that I am typically extremely squeamish, especially when it comes to movies, about any kind of anything. Heck, even embarrassing situations I have problems watching in movies. I'm so bad about that. I'm a very empathetic person, and I don't like seeing people get themselves into situations that make them awkward, because I feel awkward. So that said, I don't have a problem with this game. So unless you are very affected by horror, you probably won't have a problem. But I just wanted to put that out there, just in case. And yeah, let's go. Let's see how this goes. I have cleared out all my previous campaigns, so I just want to start fresh, and we do get to choose which of the DLC elements we would like to enable. The Flagellant is the new class from the DLC, the Crimson Court DLC. The districts are a new addition to the Hamlet, which is typically your safe area. and you can create new buildings and upgrade new buildings, apparently. And then the Crimson Court itself is all of the extra quests and monsters and treasures and everything that goes along with that new DLC, which I will enable, of course. It is worth pointing out that I have not played any of the DLC. I do not know anything about it besides what I just told you, essentially. I have heard rumors that your hamlet is not so safe anymore, which scares the crap out of me, to be perfectly honest. But yeah, now we get to choose our our campaign level here. We have Radiant, which is a faster version of the campaign, and it's a little bit easier than the normal campaign. Darkest, which is your standard Darkest Dungeon campaign, original, no time limit for your wins, and it's the standard difficulty. And then you have Blood Moon. Blood Moon is much harder. Much harder. And you also have a time limit to defeat the game. Not only that, if you lose, I think it's more than 13 heroes, you instantly lose as well. So that is quite difficult. And we're not going to start on that. Maybe at some point. We'll see how this series goes. We're going to go with Darkest Dungeon. That's the original difficulty. It's the one that I have the most experience on. And it's been a while since I've played, so that's probably going to be good for me. And I will go ahead and let us go through. Let's see. Let's do Darkest Crimson for, and this is our YouTube series. All right. I will let us go through the opening cinematic in case there are those of you who have not ever seen it. And it's got that lovely narrator in it.
You will arrive along the old road. It winds with a troubling serpent-like suggestion through the corrupted countryside, leading only, I fear, to ever more tenebrous places. There is a sickness in the ancient pitted cobbles of the old road, and on its writhing path you will face viciousness, violence, and perhaps other damnably transcendent terrors. So steel yourself, and remember there can be no bravery without madness. The old road will take you to hell, but in that gaping abyss, we will find our redemption.
And there we go. Welcome to the Darkest Dungeon. To give a brief overview of the starting story of this game, no spoilers, of course, but the starting story of this game, essentially, the owner of this huge mansion delved too deeply and too greedily and awakened Lovecraftian horrors underneath the castle. He then sent for adventurers to arrive and try to clear out the Darkest Dungeon underneath the castle and make the mansion and the area around it safe again to sort of restore his name, right? And immediately after doing so, has disappeared. I know why. I'm not going to spoil why. We'll find out eventually. Okay, you are currently in a room. To move forward, click on another room in the map hallway. This will take you to the connecting hallway. I'm not going to read all of these, but to give you an idea of how this navigates, you can move forward or backward with the arrow keys. I'm not using controller, so I'm using keyboard and mouse, of course. Or you can move backward and forward by clicking on either side of your heroes. These are our two heroes. You always start with these two. This is Reynold and Dismas, and a Crusader and a Highwayman, respectively. These guys are pretty good. Normally, I'm pretty happy with my starting heroes. We'll see what kind of maladies and interesting mental states they have once we get back to the hamlet. But yeah, I typically like these guys. Now, there is actually a achievement in this game for having these two guys survive and actually beat the Darkest Dungeon, and that doesn't happen very often. But we'll see. Let's go to the next room. Now, in these hallways.
Keep to the side path. The hamlet is just ahead.
Okay, I wanted to let that guy talk. Now, in this game, you go between rooms into hallways. And in these hallways, there's chances for events to happen on each of these little blocks. So here we have 4 chances for different events. And then here's the next room. So we'll see. So we go into the first event, nothing. So this is empty. All right. Second event had a cutthroat.
That all may hear of your arrival.
I love the narrator in this game, and it makes me feel bad every time I'm talking over him. So I do apologize in advance for that. Now, one of the interesting things about this game is you end up with 4 heroes, and they all stand in a line. And each of them have different abilities, but those abilities can often only be used from certain positions and can only target certain positions on the enemy side, because the enemies will end up in the same formation if you have more than one, which we will, a lot. So for instance, Dismas has open vein, and you can see right below it, there's little red dots and little yellow dots, right? The red dots signify which position of the enemies he can hit with that move. So in this case, he can hit anyone in the forward 2 slots. And in this case, our guy is indeed in the forward slot, so we can hit him. The yellow dots signify which position Dismas has to be in order to use that move at all. And in this case, he has to be in the first 3 positions, which he is. However, if we look at Pistol Shot can only be used if you are in the back 3 positions. And it can only hit the back 3 positions on the enemy line. So even though we are in the second position and could normally use this, we can't because there's no one for us to hit with it. Same with Tracking Shot here. Can only hit the back 3 positions. Grape Shot Blast has an interesting mechanic to it. You can see that it has linked red dots on the right-hand side. That means that it will hit everyone in the front 3 positions on the enemy team at once. It's an AoE, okay? So just to get those basic mechanics out of the way there. You can also switch your party members. Dismas can move in front of Reynold if he wanted to, or if there's another party member here, he can move behind that party member. Switching up your party does become very important at times in this game. Let's take a quick look at stats and then we'll move along. 1 attack right now, we haven't upgraded him at all. 1 defense, same there. We haven't upgraded his cloak at all. He's got 14 dodge, 7 speed, which is how you determine who gets to go win. Dismas gets to go first because he has 7 speed in this case. That must be more than either of these two. For instance, the Brigand Cutthroat here has 3 speed, so he's much slower than Dismas. And you can actually see that it will tell us how much damage, approximately, Dismas will do with the attack he currently has selected. 90% chance to hit, this in the yellow here over on the right-hand side. 5% crit chance, and 4 to 8 damage from our hero Dismas. So yeah, let's go ahead and do... Oh, one more thing. The resistances, down there at the very bottom, right below my mouse, down here. That's his resistances to each of the different debuffs we can inflict on him, if we had the people to do so, right? Those will become more important later in the game. There we go, the minimum damage, unfortunately, but he got a bleed. The bleed will now do 2 damage to this guy per round for 3 rounds. And he also got a bleed resist and -1 speed because he is bled. Alright. It is time for Reynold's turn. Now, Reynold can use all of his ability. You can see that every one of them can be used from the first slot, which is why Crusaders are very good in that slot. I actually find Crusaders to be best in the second slot. In my play, I know there's a lot of opinions about this game, about where characters need to go in the best team comps, but I personally like Crusaders in the second slot. However, in this case, that would be stupid, because we need our Highwaymen to be somewhat protected. Zealous Accusation is a great AoE, hits the first 2 members of the enemy party. It's really good. Smite does extra damage versus Unholy. This guy is not Unholy, but that might come in handy. Stunning Blow has a chance to stun, but does very little damage. And this guy's stun resist is 25%, so our chances to stun would be pretty good. 75% chance, that's decent. And in fact, let's do that. Let's just show how that works. There we go, the stun. And you can see he got stunned. Now, every time an enemy character, takes some sort of debuff, the resistance to that debuff for the future will, or at least for stuns, will increase. So if you look down at the bottom here, this guy now has a 65% chance to avoid being stunned in the future. That's to prevent you from just being able to stun lock an enemy into oblivion while you heal or do whatever you need to in the backline. This means that you must take care of people eventually, or because they will gain 100% resistance to stunned over time. Alright, let's keep going. There we go. And now we get a little bit of loot. We got 100 gold, we'll take that. Now, you might have noticed this bar under the health. Stress, 0 out of 200. We have not gained any stress yet. That will change. The other thing that I haven't mentioned yet is the torch up here. what your torch is on, you will normally have torches in your inventory, and you can use them to light up the dungeon. If your light is above 80%, I think, above this line, if it's above this line, then you get additional dodge, additional scouting chances, and the monsters you meet are more likely to be surprised by you. If, however, you let your light drop, and it can go all the way to 0, you will gain more and more, well, less and less buffs and more debuffs. The monsters will get stronger and stronger, but your treasure will go up. So there are advantages to doing a no light run. And there are also advantages to letting your light run out at specific times when you're about to have difficult fights if you want more loot. It's a risk, though. You gotta take that into account. All right, and we have an interesting thing here. We have a tent. You often find what they're calling interactive objects in this game. You can do something with them. In this case, we can take a look inside the tent. And we found some valuables. Now, a lot of these interactive elements... Okay. Waiting for the narrator. A lot of these interactive elements...
There is much to be found in forgotten places.
Yes, thank you. A lot of the times with these interactive elements, you can use specific items to make them either better or to remove any negative effects they normally cause. We'll get into that a little bit later. And there's our light just went down as tad. So now we have plus stress because we are in...
A message. The rightful owner has returned, and their kind is no longer welcome.
We have additional stress because our light level has lowered. And only 1 plus dodge now, and 1 plus scouting as opposed to 2, and only 3 monster surprise as opposed to 4. However, they still got surprised, which is good. That means we get to go first. And we could do a Grave Shot Blast, or we could just try to take one of these guys out. This guy has, obviously, 35 HP, which is a lot more than the Fusilier, and I'd rather get rid of the Fusilier first. So I'm going to use Pistol Shot. You'll notice that Open Vein cannot hit him. Why? Because Open Vein's supposed to hit the first 2 slots, right? This guy is considered a large enemy, and he takes up 2 slots by himself. So, you can tell that by how many ticks he has here on his health bar. This big tick means he's taking up 2 slots. So in order to hit this guy, we have to use a ability that can hit the 3rd slot, which in this case would be Tracking Shot or Pistol Shot, and we're going to do Pistol Shot. There we go. Now, Reynold is incapable of hitting this slot, so we are going to just do a stunning blow on this guy, try to keep him down. And he got stunned. Very good. That's good because it was 50% chance, so I wasn't sure. There's his stun went off. He couldn't do anything that turn, but he did get buffed up, so now his stun resistance is 130. Pretty good. So we won't be able to stun him again, probably. Let's see if we can finish off this Fusilier. There we go.
Give them no quarter.
All right. Now, this is something that did not exist in the beta, but they added it probably about 3/4 of the way through. It's corpses. When you destroy an enemy, they become a item, quote-unquote, on the ground that still counts as part of the enemy party. That means that you have to move around it if you want to move around, and it also means that if there was a character back here in the 4th slot, if the character in the 3rd slot dies, it used to be that the character in the 4th slot would move up to the 3rd slot. Not true anymore. This corpse takes up the 3rd slot. So in order to get this guy in the 4th slot to move up, you would have to destroy the corpse, which you can do. You can attack it just like a normal enemy. There are also some skills that will automatically destroy corpses. There's like an acid bomb that will do it and a couple other things. So it's just another thing to keep in mind. All right, let's do with a smite. No point trying to stun this guy again. He's got a lot of stun resist, so we'll just continue to take him out normally. Now, it is very possible to die in the opening tutorial. I don't think I've ever had it happen to me, but I have seen it happen to people before. It won't happen to us this time either. We got this. One more attack, and that will do it. Now, we did finally gain a little bit of stress. You'll see that right here. And that's what that little halo that just appeared, the black halo that made the sound, that was stress building up. We have 14 stress out of 200 now. Stress is not a problem until it reaches the end of this row, which is 100 stress, not 200, as it seems like it should be. When that happens, your heroes will undergo a test of faith, let's call it. And they will either panic or they will become heroic, depending on Well, depending on randomness, really, but also depending on what kind of person they are. Then they will be at 100 out of 200. If they get to 200, they will have a heart attack and die. So you have to keep their stress low. You don't want them to get to the test of faith or whatever it's actually called. You don't want them to get to that in the first place, and you definitely don't want them to have a heart attack. So that's just another mechanic to keep in mind. The big thing about stress is your health will regen automatically whenever you finish a quest. Which we just did. We just finished a quest. Now, we don't want to complete this quest quite yet, because we want to open this treasure chest. But let me finish this comment first. When you end a quest, your health regens to full automatically. That's great, but your stress does not. So if you bring back a character who has 100, 150 stress, even 60 stress, doesn't matter. They have that going into the next expedition unless you take care of it. And that can be expensive, it's time consuming, and it means that character can't participate for a while because you need them to go relax. That's the main draw of the difficulty in Darkest Dungeon. Alright, let's open this treasure chest. Now, it says right here, something doesn't look quite right, and calls it the Bandit's Trap chest. So that should tell you something, right? I'm going to go ahead and open it anyway, because we're going back to base regardless. But normally, if I'd had like a key or a shovel or something to bash this chest open and avoid the lock, or avoid the trap, that would have given us some rewards instead of poisoning us. Alright, let's go. And here is our overview. Just like Renowned Explorers, here is our overview of the treasure we've gotten and our quest rewards. We didn't get any heirlooms. Those are upgraded items. They're things that we'll use to upgrade our hamlet. So those will come into play a little bit later. And a little bit of experience for each person. They're both level 1, and Dismas has gotten either a negative or positive quirk. Let's see. Negative. Alright, fascinated with corpses. If it's green, it's positive, or if it's yellow, it's positive. If it's red, it's negative. In this case, this basically means that if he comes across a corpse item on the ground, even if you would rather not root around in it, he's going to want to, because he's fascinated with them. Alright, and here we're going to go to the hamlet for the first time. And this will be a little bit longer episode than normal. I'll start off with a long one.
This squalid hamlet, these corrupted lands, they are yours now, and you are bound to them.
Okay, we have unlocked the ruins. Dismas has grown to level 1, Reynold has grown to level 1, and they successfully escorted us to the hamlet. Very good. Here are our quests. These are all of the enemies in the game. As you can see, there are a lot of them. You also have roster goals. Raise certain classes to level 6, which is the highest level. We'll see. That will take a while. And here we are. We don't need help. Let's take a look around the hamlet real quick and get familiar with the different buildings. Right now, it looks very run down. We're going to upgrade it and make it look all pretty. The stagecoach. This is where new heroes appear.
Soldiers and outlaws, fools and corpses. All will find their way to us now that the road is clear.
Every building, including the stagecoach, can be upgraded right here. And it costs some amount of heirlooms. You can see we have 10 of each of these: busts, portraits, deeds, and then 20 crests. Each of these are used for upgrading the different buildings. For instance, the stagecoach can be upgraded to increase the number of available heroes after every mission to 3 instead of 2. Or we can increase the size of the roster we're allowed to hold from 9 to 12. And we can actually afford that right now if we wanted to, but I'm going to wait on it. What do we have here? We have a Plague Doctor and we have a Vestal. The Plague Doctor is an interesting character. Does a lot of different blights and diseases and bleeds. And quite a few AoE, like grenades and gases. He can also be a decent... so he's a decent disabler, essentially. But he can also do some DPS if he needs to. Now this guy is a Warrior of Light. 10% extra damage if torches are above 75. And plus 4 speed on the first round. He gets to go first a lot. But he's light sensitive. So Warrior of Light and Light sensitive cancel each other out, which is kind of funny. So those just basically don't matter. And he has off guard. Minus 4 speed on the first round and minus 5 dodge on the first round. So actually all of this cancels and all he gets is minus 5 dodge on the first round, which is kind of funny. Alright. Now, these quirks can be taken away. You can spend money and time to get rid of them, but they are expensive, and it means you can't use the character while that's happening. We will, of course, take him. I mean, normally I might avoid this guy because he doesn't have very good buffs, but we need 4 characters.
Laboratory than the blood-soaked battlefield.
Okay, and our Vestal. Our Vestal has Quick Draw, -5 accuracy on ranged skills, which is unfortunate, but as long as we use her essentially as a healer, that she won't feel that very much. And Maniac for money. She'll try to steal money from us occasionally when we find treasure.
A sister of battle, pious and unrelenting.
Okay, we're not going to upgrade the Stagecoach. Let's take a look at all the other areas. We have the Ancestor's Memoir. This is where...
In time, you will know the tragic extent of my failings.
This is where all of these storyline cutscenes go once you unlock them. And you can watch them again if you would like. The Nomad Wagon we can't enter yet, actually. Actually, it's going to be true of a lot of these places. We'll talk about them when we unlock them. How about that? But we do have the Graveyard.
Most will end up here, covered in the poisoned earth, awaiting merciful oblivion.
And that is where our dead heroes will go when and if they die. All right, let's go on a mission.
A mecca of madness and morbidity. Your work begins.
Okay, so this is where you set up for a mission. Right now, the only place we can go is the ruins or the Darkest Dungeon itself. Now, if we click on the Darkest Dungeon here, your characters will complain that this is beyond them. They're not wrong. It is beyond them. But this is open to the very beginning. If you would really like to commit suicide, feel free. But the ruins are a nice little mission. They're for an apprentice level group, level 1, which is great. It's short, no campfire needed because it is a short mission. And your goal is to explore 90% of the rooms. This does change with different missions, so you have to look at this. We will get 4 crests. We'll get a protection stone, which is a nice little trinket with 5 protection on it, although -1 speed, and then we'll get 3,000 gold. We have to set up our group. This is very important, and you want to put them in the order that you want them to fight in, because moving them around in battle does take a turn, so you want to have them in the right order to begin with. This is the very typical order for your very first mission. In fact, they even title it for you, The Usual Suspects. Crusader in front, then your Gunner, then your Plague Doctor, and then your Vestal. The main reason for this is that typically your Vestal's healing can be used from the last slot. You can see that her Divine Grace is useful from the last or second to last slot there. Illumination can only be used in the first, second, and third slot, which is a little unfortunate. Hand of Light, the first 2. So actually, this particular Vestal, her particular skills right now mean that she's not very good in the last slot. We haven't unlocked some of these skills yet. We actually can't. We don't have that building ready yet. But eventually, we'll want to switch her skills around so that she's a little bit more useful from that back. We could move Dismiss back into the third slot and move the Vestal up to the second slot to make her a little bit more useful, but she would lose the ability to heal, which is quite important, unsurprisingly. She could at least use Illumination if we moved her to the third slot instead. And our Plague Doctor is actually fine in the last slot, so let's do that. Okay. And so the creators have occasionally named different parties. This party they've named the Red Hook, as opposed to the Usual Suspects. I don't know why. But, okay, let's go. Let's do this thing. First, we're going to provision. This is where a lot of your money comes in handy.
Measured now in gold, later in blood.
This is where you buy all of the various things that you need. Now, this item is new. This is probably from the DLC. I'm not familiar with this one, but typically you want to bring enough food to feed your whole party, depending on the mission length. So for a short mission, you can usually get away with 8 food. For a long mission, I like to bring 24. Food is one of those things that's very useful for healing, and it's useful to make sure your characters don't starve. So it has a double use there. So having more of it, I generally like. I like to have at least 2 shovels all the time. You'll see why when we come across instances for those. Now we are going to the ruins. Each area that you go to has different items that are really, really useful for it. And it varies. It varies. For the ruins, I like to have some bandages, and I like to have some keys. Those are the big ones. I wouldn't mind a holy water. And we'll need torches. We'll need torches because we want to make sure the light doesn't get too low. And only 8 of them for a short mission is just fine. Probably a little bit of overkill, actually. Let's take a couple keys as well. And a couple bandages. Why not? We've got the money right now. Let's make sure our first expedition is a roaring success, shall we? There we go. We're a little over-prepared here. You'll notice we started with some holy water and some antivenom. Each character that you bring has a possibility of instantly adding an item to your inventory for that mission. In this case, we're getting a holy water, I believe, from the Crusader, and we're getting an anti-venom from the Plague Doctor. Okay, let's go. Your first expedition into the ruins of your ancestry. Be curious, but be careful. Excellent advice. And here we are. This is our first overmap, our true overmap. I'm not going to count the tutorial, all right? We have to explore 90% of rooms. So we have, you notice here, we have 8 rooms. Now, the game is generous. It is a generous god occasionally, and it rounds up for the 90%. So for 8 rooms, you have to visit 7 of them, which is fine. And it is worth figuring out exactly what order you're going to go in, especially for longer dungeons where you don't want to backtrack, because backtracking causes way more stress than going there the first time, which is kind of surprising. You'd think you might, have less stress if you'd already been somewhere, but no, they don't like backtracking. They feel like it's there's no reason for it, and they feel like you're being mean to them, so they get stressed if you backtrack. So you want to make sure you don't do that. Now in this case, we're not going to be able to visit every room without backtracking. Because if we come up here and then go over to this room, we'll have to backtrack to go this way and then back over here. If we go this way, we're going to miss this room. But that's fine. Again, we only have to visit 90%. So I'm going to do a loop here and just skip this room so we don't do any backtracking. Let's go. Enough talk. Let us fight. There's a little bit of stress already. Here, so we have a unburned torch. That's very nice. We'll take that. Sure. And you can see that our torchlight is at 82 right now. If I let that fall again, and I just did, we're just barely in radiant light. 75 is dim light? Or moderate light? It's the next one down. There we go. Dim light, 70. I'm willing to accept dim light. That's fine. We did not surprise the monsters, but we have illumination. So let's do that. Illumination, 80% accuracy base. It does half as much damage as normal, but it does increase your torch a little bit, which is kind of nice. And it debuffs the target with minus 20 dodge, which is cool. There we go, a little bit of damage. And yeah, let's use a pistol shot here. 48 damage. Let's hit. We can't hit that one. We can with this, though. There we go. That'll take out the first one. You can see the corpses here preventing this guy from moving up. If we wanted him to move up to the first slot, maybe because we have characters that can hit the first slot better than the second slot, we would have to destroy this corpse. We do not currently have an ability that destroys corpses, so I'm not going to worry about it. Noxious Blast. The big thing about Noxious Blast, doesn't do much damage. You can see it has minus 80% damage on it, but 4 points of blight per round for 3 rounds is very strong. There we go. 4 damage per round for 3 rounds. So this guy's going to die automatically next turn. That said, there's no reason to attack him. He's going to take 4 damage next turn. So let's just go ahead and up our torch with protection. You see our torch raised all the way to max there. And well, emboldening vapors, why not? I'm trying to get to the Vestal so I can heal before this combat ends. We'll see if I manage it. Buff ourselves here. Oh, we can't. Nope, we have to attack or move. I'm going to move. And there we go. We got our heal up. Oh, but we moved her. Wow, that was stupid of me. I should have moved between. So she can only use her heal if she's in the 3rd slot or 4th slot. And she no longer is. So that was silly of me. Oh, well. All right, I was going to heal Dismas before the... or I was going to heal Reynolds, I should say, before the combat ended. Oh, well. 1,000 gold, and here is a treasure chest. Now, This treasure chest could be trapped. We don't know. It would be smart to use a key on it. If I thought I had a secret compartment or if I thought it was trapped. I'm going to assume it's not trapped because it says it's unlocked already. And it's not. Okay, good. Hey, we get a shovel.
Waiting to be spent.
Cool. Oh, we don't want to do that. No. Go back to your positions. There we go. Yeah, okay. Let's continue. And we got a scouting. Very nice. That's going to tell us what's in the hallway ahead of us. All right. So there is a room battle in this room we were going to skip. There's a room battle up here with treasure, and 2 curios in the hallways, an obstacle here, and a battle here. Good to know. Now, yep, good. Okay, this obstacle is an excellent point to point out what a shovel is for. You can get past this without a shovel if you would like. However, it's going to take you time, it's going to lure your torch, and it's going to cause all of your characters a large amount of stress. If you have a shovel, however...
Even the cold stone seems bent on preventing passage.
Thank you. If you have a shovel, however, you can just clear it. No torch loss, no stress loss. Very nice. And we're about to get jumped. There we go. Here's our first 3-person battle with an Eldritch Witch, I believe. Let's see what she's called. Cultist Acolyte. Okay. She is really annoying. She, as you can see, can pull your party members around. She put our Vestal in the front, which means that our Vestal can now use some of her melee abilities, which is kind of nice, but she can no longer use her heal. Fortunately, Reynold is still useful from the second position. If he moves back anymore, though, he's going to be practically useless, so we will have to watch that. I am going to up our torchlight just to give us the extra dodging for this fight. And let's start with... let's just do a Mace Bash, yeah. 5 to 11 damage. That is pretty good. That could one-shot this rabble. Nope, got the minimum damage. Too bad. We do have Grape Shot, though. Done. Grape Shot is a great ability if there's 3 enemies. Okay. Emboldening. Let's see. I want to blind this witch, or this acolyte. So, 100% chance to stun, but she has a 25% stun resist, so 75% chance here. And we got the stun. Very nice. Okay, so why do I hate the witches? The witches are very good at stressing your party out. They don't really focus on doing damage. They focus on making your characters upset. So the sooner you can stun them and prevent them from doing that to you, the better. Ooh, we cannot... There we go. Illumination can hit. Excellent.
Their formation is broken.
Pretty good. I'm pretty happy with that fight. That worked out really well. In general, and this is again, in general, if you have an enemy that's going to stress your party out versus an enemy that's going to hurt your party, take the damage. The damage is easier to get rid of than the stress. Okay, let's see. Now, we're not going to go to this curio room. I could go this way and around if I wanted to, but I'd rather have this room battle with treasure instead of the room battle with the curio. And here we go, a little backpack on the ground. Let's take a look. Hey, a key and some citrine. That's a jewel you can sell. It's basically just there to take up space, let's be honest. We'll up our torchlight again. Again, I didn't need nearly as many torches as I brought, and I knew that, but better to be prepared on your first mission. You don't want to have your first mission go poorly. Okay, let's... Blinding or Plague or Noxious. Let's blind the witch. I really don't want to deal with her. I know she's an acolyte. I might keep calling her the witch. There are some other enemies in the game that are called witches that do the exact same things as she does, and that's just how I remember them as. Now, our Vestal cannot do much from this position. She can heal, which is great, but we don't need any healing really. And she can illuminate. So let's just illuminate someone. How about the acolyte back here? Never mind. I was gonna say let's get started on her. That didn't happen. A little bit of an AoE there just to soften everyone up. And Zealous Accusation is really strong in this position. 48 damage and 3 to 7 damage. Could finish off this Bone Soldier if we're lucky. Yep. Very nice. A little bit of stress on our... Yeah, look, 19 stress on our Vestal from that attack. That is why you don't want the Acolytes to attack. It's really annoying. I'm going to try to stun her again. Her stun resist did not go up last time because we failed. If we had succeeded, it would have. Because she didn't get stunned. Wow, and she resisted it again. Okay. Let's just try to finish her off. I'm really tired of her being back there. Stressful incantation again on our Plague Doctor. Again, 19 stress on 1 attack. Okay, Dismas actually resisted the poison there, which is nice. We'll heal him a little bit. And try to finish off this guy. Yep, nice. So that just leaves our Acolyte. And let's see, we have Plague Grenade. Let's... Blinding. Blinding does not do much damage. Plague Grenade does slightly more, so we'll do that. Ooh. Okay, good, she got the Blight, so she's gonna die as soon as her turn comes, which is right then. Oh, worth pointing out, by the way, that if you kill an enemy with a Bleed or a Blight, not if you kill them while they have a Bleed or a Blight, but if you kill them with the Bleed or the Blight, they will not leave a corpse, ever. So that's interesting. The blood. The blood is a special type of supply item. Any collected bottles of the blood will be retained in your estate at quest end. They may be added to the provisions of embarking parties. The blood is rare. Spread it around wisely amongst those in need. Okay, this is a new element, probably from the DLC. And I don't know what it does. The call is unyielding. The urge is irresistible. Only the blood will quench this thirst. I am assuming that's going to be something terrible that's going to happen to us. Good to know. Now, this treasure chest does have a lock on it. You can see that right in front. So I'm going to use a key here. And we unlocked a hidden compartment. And we get our key back. Nice. All right. And more scouting. Cool. Okay. Nothing in these next 2 rooms, so we'll just go ahead and go. Now, one thing that is coming up is a trap. You can see that on the map now because we scouted right here. If we had not scouted, this would not be visible. Now, each of your crew members has a chance of disarming traps. 50% for Dismas, 20% for Reynold, 10% Perfect Vini, and 20% for Perval. So I will use Dismas with this 50%. Scouted traps will be visible on the ground. They are indeed. And we're going to select Dismas and try to disarm it. He failed. So he takes some damage, and
possessed by evil intent.
And he also got some stress, and sometimes he would also get a bleed in that case. He didn't this time, but a lot of times he would. Now we've gone down to Shadowy Light, 50%. This gives us additional stress. Monsters get additional accuracy and damage. We have a chance of getting surprised, but it gives additional loot. It's interesting. We also have a lot of food, so let's go ahead and feed some of that to Dismas. That will heal him a little bit. Very nice. And I'm going to go ahead and run with Dim Light. We know there's no fight here, and we know there's no fight in this hallway or this room either. So running with lower light actually means that we'll get more loot out of this curio. In fact, we could actually just snuff the torch entirely if we wanted to, like that.
The darkness holds much worse.
This curio will now give us more loot than it would have. Except Dismas, or Reynold, I should say, is going to keep it all. Come on, Reynold. So Reynold has kleptomania, prone to stealing items, so he just stole all of this from us. That was annoying. You can see that now that we're in pitch black, we get way more stress. Monsters are much stronger and have better accuracy. We have a much better chance of getting surprised, but loot goes way up. I'm going to go ahead and pop a couple torches. We had a bunch left over. I just really wanted the extra loot out of that sack, and Reynold stole it all. Hunger. Okay, here we go. The exhortations of adventuring have produced a growing hunger amongst the party. If you do not have enough food to fulfill their needs when this event comes up, then everyone will take 20% damage and take a bunch of stress. That is why food is important. Plus, it can be used as a healing item in a pinch, so it's just good. Here we go. We are on to our last room. Let's go take a look. I am running with dim light right now, and now we're in shadowy. I'm going to go ahead and run with shadowy. We'll take a little bit more stress, but that's okay. Good thing I took another shovel. I'm very happy about that. I did find one on the expedition. That's why we have an extra one still. But the 2 was what was required, so I'm glad I took 2. And here we go. Now we are in dark. And we still got the surprise. That's very lucky for us. I was gonna say that's very surprising. Grr. Let's go ahead and blinding gas these final 2. See if we can get the stuns. We did. Very nice. Illumination or a heal. Let's go ahead with Illumination. And we just want to give someone minus dodge. Preferably this Courtier. The Courtier is like the Acolyte. he spends all of his time making us sad, or making us stressed out, essentially. And we hate him for it. Very simply. Grape Shot Blast, pretty nice. Or we could just try to finish off this courtier. See if we can do that with, we have a chance. It's a very low chance, but it is a chance. 4 to 8 damage, and he has 8 HP. A crit.
Cleansed from our lands.
Very nice. Now, Chris, you'll notice we had these little white things pop up above a couple of characters. That means they lost some stress. They were so happy about the crit that they actually healed some of their stress from that, which is great. Very good for us. Now, when it comes to damage, the Arbalists tend to be very, very strong. They do a lot of damage. And now we've gotten the courtier out of the way, I am probably going to focus on the Arbalist when we can. Let me go ahead and blight this guy. He will now die in 2 turns, so I'm going to stop wasting resources on him. Although, if we hit him just a little bit, he'll die in 1 turn instead. So, yeah, we'll use Grip Shot Blast across everyone. And there he goes. And this also moves the Arbalist up. Now, one thing I haven't mentioned is not only is that important because now we have access to him with our abilities that can hit the 2nd slot, this means the Arbalist cannot use a lot of his abilities that require him to be in the 3rd or 4th slot. And as an archer, he has a lot of abilities that are only able to be used from these 2 slots. So now that he's up here, he's much more useless and more vulnerable than he was. So that's very good to keep in mind. Alright, missed with that attack, very good. And we'll just go ahead and try to finish these guys off. Very close, but Grape Shot Blast will do it.
Destroy them.
And he was so happy about that, he healed a little bit more stress. We got some food, some deeds, some crests. Very cool. And we are going to continue adventuring for a moment because we do want to check out this chest. And again, it has a lock. I'm worried it's trapped, so I'm going to use a key on it. Plus, I had 3 of them. And cool, we got some extra busts and crests. And we will go on our way. All the various things that we got. We do sell off the extra supplies that we have left over for a portion of what they were worth. And there's all our heirlooms. Very nice. Alright, and some people got some quirks. Let's see if they're good or bad. Plutomania, Manic for money. Okay, so now he's Kleptomaniac and a Plutomaniac. That's sad. Faded, a chance to turn any miss into a hit. That's very nice. That's one of the better ones that I've run across before. And Hagiomania, obsessed with sainthood. Okay. And here we are back at the hamlet.
All the decadent horrors I have seen pale in comparison to that final, crowning thing. I could not look, nor could I look away.
Okay, so this is just telling us that some of our negative quirks, if we leave them on a character long enough, will lock into place, and they are very much harder to remove. Okay, we successfully completed our first foray into the ruins. The tavern and the abbey are now unlocked, and Pavel and Pavini, or Pevrel and Pikvini are now level 1. Okay, let's take a look at our tavern.
Fresh kegs, cards, and curtained rooms promise solace to the weary and broken alike.
Okay, so the tavern and the chapel, both places, are ways of reducing your character's stress. So you can see that Pekvini and Pevrel both have 3 bars of stress right now. Smith and Reynold are doing just fine, 1 bar. If we wanted to remove those stresses from these 2 characters, we could drag one of them into the gambling hall, the bar, or the brothel, normally. And they would sit there for 1 mission, and when they got out, they would most likely have all their stress removed. Unless a bad event happened, which could happen, but we'll see. The caretaker is currently in here, so we can't use this right now, but that's okay. Different people will like different events better. So for instance, Pekvini, even though she doesn't have a specific one that will prevent her from using any particular stress relief, has Hagomania, so she may prefer to pray or something like that to relieve her stress. Here's the Abbey, what I call the church.
Been dusted, the pews set straight. The Abbey calls to the faithful.
So here you can go to the Penance Hall, the Transept, or the Cloister, and again, same thing. You go in there, you spend one battle, and you hopefully get rid of a lot of your stress. We still have not unlocked the Sanitarium, which is where you remove negative quirks. We have not unlocked the Guild or the Blacksmith, is where we can upgrade our character's equipment. And we have not yet unlocked the Survivalist, which is where we change people's campfire moves, which we haven't run into yet. Or the Nomad Wagon, which is where trinkets are sold, if we would like to buy trinkets at some point. I would really like the Guild to be unlocked, mostly because I'm not happy with Pikvini's skills. If we look at her skills here, I don't want her to have Mace Bash, because I don't want her in the front, ever. I don't want her to have Hand of Light for the same reason. I would love to give her Judgment, Dazzling Light, or Divine Comfort, because those are good from that 3rd and 4th slot, which will make her a better character in those slots. But we cannot do that until we unlock the Guild. And it's still expensive to do as well, so it's worth looking at the champions you have available and seeing what their starting skills are. Some may be preferable to others. Let's take a look, shall we? The Leper and the Antiquarian. Alright. Now, I am going to go ahead and just say that I have not used the Antiquarian enough to really have an idea of how good or bad they are. But the Leper, I really like. This is a strong character. Very good in the first 2 positions. I love to pair a Leper with a Barbarian. Put the Barbarian in the first position, put the Leper in the second, or vice versa. I like that. We can switch outfits. Yeah. Okay, so he has Chop, which is great from the first 2 positions. He has Purge, which clears all corpses, which is kind of useful, and also knocks back an enemy. Withstand is a self buff, decreases a little bit of stress on himself, which is great, and gives him a little bit more protection. And Solemnity, which increases all his resists and heals him a little bit. All of these useful from the front 2 positions. And I think that's true of every one of his abilities, yes, except for Intimidate, which is only in the first position. This is a great character. He has Tippler, will only drink for stress relief, that's fine. And Warrens Explorer, extra scouting chance in the Warrens, that's great. This guy looks amazing, frankly. So yes, I'm definitely going to grab him. And
This man understands that adversity and existence are one and the same.
Indeed. And then Boninfant? Okay. You know what? I'm just going to call you Bone. How does that sound? Because I can pronounce that. Stress faster. 100% food consumed. Less food consumed if stress is above 50. Interesting. And good against humans. 10% accuracy and 3% crit. That would be great in the ruins. Lots of humans in there. We just ran into a bunch of them. And love interest. In town will only visit the brothel because he has a love interest there. Isn't that sweet? Aww. Or she. Probably a she. Now I look at it. Okay. Very nice. Let's look at the abilities here. Claims good from any position. That's interesting. Yeah. All of her current abilities are able to be used from every position. That's fascinating. All right. Festering Vapors, some bleed and some blight resistance. All right. A heal, a small heal 1. And buff. So this is a buffer. This is a buffing character. All right. Can make an ally guard her. That's very interesting. That means if someone tries to attack her, the ally that is guarding her will take the damage instead. That's interesting. Flash Powder debuffs the enemy. Okay. By 5 accuracy. Interesting. Buffs herself for dodge and speed. So the only attack she has is Nervous Stab or Festering Vapors. That's it. Those are the only 2 attacks. This just debuffs. Alright, interesting. So she's very much a support character. We will take her. Yeah, well, I mean, we'll take her and see how we like her.
Where others will not go, and sees what others will not see.
Okay. Now, we do have enough things down here that we could... I don't know what this button does. Oh, this is new. Oh, we can trade heirlooms. Fascinating. That's new. We couldn't do that before. I don't know if I like that. So before I go, my thoughts on that are, it used to be that when you wanted to do an expedition, you, to some degree, had to choose where you wanted to go based on what item you needed. So if you were low on deeds, for instance, yeah, if you were low on deeds, then you would want to go to, is it the Warrens? I think the Warrens are the ones that give you a lot of deeds. The Ruins tend to give you busts, as you can see. So you would have to select where you wanted to go based on what item you were in need of. And I kind of liked that. I'm not sure... Now, obviously, trading is, I'm sure, not efficient. It's probably much more efficient to go and get whatever item you need. But it does give you a little bit more flexibility. Probably not a bad thing. It just makes the game a little easier. Alright. Especially since you tend to have way more crests than anything else all the time. Now, you can see that the ruins leveled up one because we did clear it once. And so now we have the option of 4 different quests in the ruins. We can do another short one, explore 90% of rooms, and you can see what we'll get for that. Or we can do a medium, which has a campfire in it, complete 100% of room battles. Same there, and same there. And all these will give slightly different rewards. Deeds, crests, busts, and some more portraits. Okay, so we can kind of pick and choose. This one also gives you a trinket that can only be used by a jester, which we do not have one yet, but that's... You know, good to point out that some trinkets can only be used by certain classes. Alright, let's go back to the estate for a second. Districts are locked. That's probably part of the DLC. I'm assuming that will unlock at some point. And here is our trinket we just got. 5 protection and -1 speed. We're probably going to put that on our Crusader. In fact, let's go ahead and do that. There we go. He has 0 speed now, but 5% protection, which is nice. Just means he takes a little bit less damage. Okay, I guess we're ready to go on another expedition, but it has been an hour, and that's kind of what I wanted to do for my first episode. So let's go ahead and call it. I hope you guys enjoyed the first episode of Darkest Dungeon, the Crimson Court DLC. Let me know what you think about it. Let me know what you would like to see. And I'll look forward to hearing from you. I don't know what the plan yet is, because I haven't made it, of my recording schedule for Darkest Dungeon. I'm still going to go with the 2 Renowned Explorer episodes per weekday and 1 Renowned Explorer per weekend. And I definitely don't want to just do Darkest Dungeon on the weekends. I want to do some on the weeks as well. So we'll see. We'll see what I can manage to get out. I did just upgrade my internet package. I'm not thrilled with it at the moment because the download speed for some reason has decreased, even though I purchased a better package. I'm going to have to call and ask about that, but the upload speed has been increased by quite a bit. So uploading an episode, rather than it used to take me about an hour and a half to upload one episode of Renowned Explorers, it now takes me about 15 minutes, which is much preferable. So hopefully that will help me out a little bit in getting this stuff out. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you are excited as I am about getting back into Darkest Dungeon, and I will see you next time.